Power Women podcast. For your career and your life, no matter what business you're in.
Hello and welcome to the fourth and final episode in our showcase season of the Northern Power Women podcast. I'm your host, Simone Roche, and with just 3 weeks to go until this year's Northern Power Women Awards, which takes place on the 21st of March, sponsored by EY. Each week I have been delighted to be chatting to an incredible role model from across our community, and this week is no exception. On today's episode, I'll be joined by Kellie Rixon MBE, and I know she's really proud of that MBE. We'll have a chat about that in a bit. She's the founder of Rixon Associates and Chair of the Institute of Hospitality, and in 2009, Kellie founded the De Vere Academy of Hospitality, a groundbreaking initiative that saw almost 13,000 young people from the furthest parts of society trained to gain employment in the wonderful hospitality sector. Later that year, she was awarded 2 honorary fellowships and an MBE for services to the hospitality industry, and in 2019 joined the supervisory board at the Institute of Hospitality, later taking the role of chair to help the Institute navigate through this difficult period, helping it to emerge transformed and stronger than ever. And here she is, transformed and stronger than ever. Kellie Rixon MBE. I haven't got my teeth in today, I swear.
It works for me. Hello, my lovely.
Oh, you know, we've known each other for a long time. And I came and visited your academy on 2 occasions, one over in Tranmere and once here in Liverpool. And what an amazing thing you did. And that was one of the things you got an MBE for. So, but tell us about MBE Day, because I'm always fascinated by this. I love it.
Well, as one MBE to another, you know the script. My MBE Day was a fabulous day. I took my 2 sons and my husband. And the weird thing about it, though, I don't know how you felt, Simone. I felt a little bit like Charlie Bucket with the golden ticket. Because you turn up at the gates, don't you? And everyone stood there looking in, and then they open the gate and let you through. And you're on the other side. So it was very bizarre. It was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience. I was invested by the lovely Prince Charles, who was hysterical. Who was absolutely hysterical. His opening line to me was, "Thank God you're here. It's been incredibly dull so far." Which at that point I knew we were going to have some fun. So yeah, the video is really funny. The video is him looking really serious, but he's saying really funny things, and I'm just giggling away like a schoolgirl. But it was fab.
And every year, what do you do?
I have an MBE day. So we recreate the moment that I was invested, and we go out somewhere, and I put on my medal. And in it's 10 years, I think, since my MBE this year. And every year I wear my medal and go somewhere beautiful for lunch in one of our beautiful hospitality places around Liverpool. And no one has ever asked me about my medal in 10 years. So if you're out and about on the 25th of October and you see a lunatic walking around town with a big medal on, for God's sake, just ask her about it, please.
Oh, well, what you need to do is just take Prince Charles with you in future. That's what you can do.
Yeah, I'm telling you. There's my mate, Charles. I did tell him that, there you go. Can I just borrow you like once a year just to come round and shake people's hands? But no, there you go.
Oh, he'd love that. Listen, let's dive in. But your company, Rixon Associates, has the philosophy, what happens next? It's part of your logo. It's on the front page of the website. Those 3 words are integral, aren't they, to your business and life?
Yeah, it's all about who I am, and it came from an interesting space, and it's become my life mantra, if you like. It's part of everything I kind of do. So in 2010 we had a life-changing situation. So we were involved in a terrible hit and run accident which saw my youngest son critically ill and fighting for his life, and it decimated who I was as a person and who my wonderful life that it was. And I didn't know what was going on, and I was really confused, and I was really angry about what had gone on. And I was, I don't know why I said 2010, it's 2012. I'm tied up with my 12s and 10s, but I was lost. I was all at sea, and I didn't know what to do. I was at the pinnacle of my career. I was really successful. And all that didn't mean a jot. In the moment when life and death literally hung in the balance, your achievements, what you'd done, the glamorous places you'd been, the people that you'd spent time with, actually had no meaning at all. It had no value. So you get to some fundamental truths about who you are and what to do. And at that moment, I kind of just pulled on everything in terms of the lessons I'd learned. You know, they told us that our boy would, you know, struggle, maybe not survive, never walk again, never think for himself, not have any independence. And you hear these words and you kind of think, well, that's it. And for a little while, I thought, well, that's it. The experts are telling us. And we just kind of had to have a word with ourselves and go, well, actually, that's just somebody else's opinion. It's somebody else's view. And in my life, in my career up to that point, I'd never listened to anybody's view on what I could and could not do. You know, I'm a girl from a council estate in Liverpool. I shouldn't have been on the board at big organisations, but I was. So actually, why was I now starting at the most critical part of my life? Why was I now listening to what are the boundaries of what we can achieve? So we kind of just thought about, well, you know, what happens? What do we do? And so the principle was, I couldn't change what had happened to us. I couldn't change that night. It was beyond our control. You know, that hit and run driver changed our life, and I could do nothing about it. The power comes in what happens next. And for me, that's where I found solace. The idea of not accepting the hand you've been dealt with, fighting it, challenging it, arguing it, getting involved and trying to change that future. And it just become a mantra for life. So anyone goes, oh, you know, this terrible thing happened and this happened. And you go, yeah, it happened. So what happens next? And that's where you find your power.
It's interesting that you say, you know, I've known you for a number of years, since way back in the days when I was heading up Women First, which is where I fell into the gender equality world. And I remember just being so swept up, and just, I loved your passion, your speed, your impatience, your, you know, just kick-assness, if even that's a phrase, but I'm taking it anyway, and I think it fully describes you. So it's interesting that you, like, you know, you were almost distracted, not just by the awful, you know, situation that was around you and everything that was happening to yourself, your family, and Harry, but the fact that you let it take over you for a bit, and then at one point, like you said, you'd had a word with yourself and go, I don't do this in business, so why the heck am I going to do this for my family? You know, was that a light switch moment, or, you know, was that a wake up, or you know, this isn't me?
It was a conscious decision, and weirdly, it came from the really strangest place. It came from somebody being really negative, and you know, you hear stories about people being wonderful, and we were surrounded by lots of wonderful people and therapists and amazing people. And then one day, you know, one of those individuals said something really negative, and it shook me to my core. So my boy was in a coma for a long time, you know, and you know, but we saw signs of him kind of coming around and being, you know, improving. And this nurse said to us, yeah, but you don't know what's going on in his head, do you? And I was like, how dare you? You don't know what's going on in his head. And it was literally that moment I went, I'm not having this anymore. We're not victims. We're not putting up with what people's impression is of us. We're winners, we're survivors, and we're going to carry that through. So no limiting language was used around my boy. We never talked about what he can't do. We always talked about what he's going to do, what he can achieve. And, you know, now he is rock climbing, you know, got a girlfriend, socializing all the time. He is charming, fabulous, interesting, and has achieved so much more than if we'd have accepted the hand that we were dealt. We'd be in a totally different place. So for me, what happens next is down to you. Don't let anyone ever tell you your story. You shape it.
I love that, you know, and that we could talk about, can't we? We talk about with, you know, elite athletes and business people at the top of the game, that positive mental attitude. But this is it with bells. This is it on steroids kind of thing, you know, and I can't even imagine, you know, what you went through and how where did you draw your strength from? But the one thing I do know about you is that positive mental attitude, and I know you're someone who's very generous in spirit, in sort of knowledge, in support. What would you pass on? There's people out there that have, we know what the last few years have brought, and we'll talk about the hospitality industry in a minute, which we're both massively passionate about. But what advice would you pass on as, in respect of what you drew on in the time of this horrible time? It's
hard to give people lessons, because actually you need to be open to lessons. You need to be ready and in that position to receive a lesson. I know myself, anyone that tells me something, I think, well, that's for you, it's not for me. So the only observation I can make on my kind of view was that I had all the ingredients I needed to survive and to thrive through that. It wasn't, I had everything I needed inside of me, and I'm not special. I'm exactly like everybody else. And so my feedback or my view is you've got all the tools you need. Now, you might need a little bit of organising, you might need a good support team around you, but no one can tell you that you're not capable of this, whether it be big change, whether it be, a transition that's going to shake you, whether your foundations as a person has been shook. Ultimately, your route through, you have all the tools, you've got that inside of you. You just need to get your plan sorted, and then don't listen to anyone who tells you can't do it.
Absolutely. And how, this was change in so many ways, but actually for you as a leading businesswoman, role model, advocate, board member, all of the above, how did you embrace that change?
Well, change is an interesting thing. So change, you can generate change by your actions, or change can happen around you. But either way, it takes action. And I'm an active person. So for me, it's if it's a change I agree with, then I wholeheartedly agree, and I get involved and I advocate for that change and I lead the change. I'm not a good takey part person. You know me. Give me a job where I can just get at the front and run with it. I'm fine. Get me in a room where everyone's going to chat for hours and nothing's going to come of it, and you'll lose me within 5 minutes. So I've got to be leading it. I've got to be part of that driving bit. But also in the same vein, if I oppose it, then for me, it's a case of what the accident taught me as well is I don't want to waste time doing stuff I don't believe in. It made me change my business model. It made me only pick the clients I want to work with. I only do the job I like doing, the work. I'm never going to do another auto-enrollment pension scheme again, ever, because it wasted part of my life that I'm never going to get back. So it makes you kind of be quite selective, and it makes you understand the value of your time and the value of your experience.
I'm not going to say, do you consider yourself a resilient person, before the accident? Because you're a resilient person, full stop. You're someone like that is at the start, impatient, leading and driving the change. Get out my way, I'm coming through. I'm going to do, create boundless thousands of opportunities for young people because I can, So, but other people don't always build that resilience or don't enable that resilience around them. So what can we do to help others? And I know others aren't just a homogenous group out there, it's all different walks of life.
It's an interesting question because, people, lots of time people go, oh, if that had happened to me, I couldn't have coped. And you go, well, actually, when you find yourself in a situation, and that could be anything, and not just what happened to us, but in my career, I couldn't have coped being on a board. I couldn't cope in your job. I couldn't cope in that. And you go, actually, interestingly, you have no idea how capable you are. And resilience, I had this debate this week with a client of mine who was concerned about I don't like confrontation. And my challenge to that individual is let's look at the word confrontation, because actually, what is it? What does it mean? Is the shouting? No, there's no shouting. Is there abusive? No, there's no abusive language. It's just, we're going to be debating. And I'm like, that sounds like discussion for me. So resilience is very much the same thing. You kind of just have to get on with it. You have to do it. You have to push through. You have to make sure that you're part of the conversation, and you will accept the fact that some days you are going to have bad days. And, there's 24 hours in a day. You get up the next day and you choose your attitude. You look at it and go, what happens next? I had a bad day yesterday. What happens today? So this idea that everything is terrifying and scary and frightful, well, actually, it is just about the lens in which you're looking at it. So change your perspective, change your view, get opinions. You'd be amazed how many people will go, God, you're dead strong, or you're really brave, or you're really knowledgeable, and actually feed from that too. So resilience is about trying to get rid of just the negative talk, negative self-talk, and start to really promote that positivity in your life. And
the one thing I don't believe is that either you or I have 24 hours in the day. I believe we have an extra 6 hours squirreled away somewhere, but that's
sleep is for wimps.
Hey, you're the chair. We talked about the hospitality industry, and you're the chair of the supervisory board for the institute, and we talk often and long about having seats at the table. It's not one seat, but why is it important? God, it sounds, but why would you encourage other women to seek out those positions? We've talked before, I can't, or that's not for me, or I couldn't do that. But why is it important that you lean in, and if there isn't a seat, take the folding chair or extend the table, whatever it may be?
Because we're awesome. I think the challenge we've got a lot of the time is it's a lack of confidence, or it's a lack of people around you, surrounding you, telling you that you're fabulous, you know what I mean? And actually, I think that there's a weird thing about it. Lots of people who say, how can you encourage people? Do you encourage people? Do you encourage women? Encourage should be an active word. It really should be, it should mean something, because otherwise it's just words. So, yes, I encourage people. I encourage women specifically. I encourage Northerners to get on the board. Do you know what I mean? It's just this idea that it's a certain group of people that are only successful is a myth, but it will remain this kind of perception unless we start to change it. So yes, I encourage it, but actually how I encourage it is I get out there and mentor, I speak to people, I speak as often as I can, I role model, I challenge the norms. The Institute, it was quite a traditional organisation. No one expected me to be appointed chair, and we've seen it transform. It's been brilliant. The members have just embraced it, and the diversity and the innovation. They were just desperate to have it. So, you know what? Be brave. Step out. Do it.
And finally, you talk about that active work and that, your passion for people at the start of their career and being career ready. It's equally important it's that active word. It's that sponsorship approach where it's mentoring and opening the door and going through, so it's equally important that we're enabling people at the start of their journey to be part of this conversation as well, and be part of those board positions from a junior perspective, because we need to hear from them, because that will aid them on their career as well as us in our business decisions, won't it?
It is, and it's weird because it is about, and I know I'm conscious I'm speaking to Northern Power women, and it is about gender, but it's about both genders. I'm the mother of men, and I'm raising my men to understand that talent, hard work will out. Being a good human that works really hard, that accepts everybody for who they are. My son is a disabled man now. So, the idea that somebody would be discriminatory to my son, not even going to happen on my watch. And I feel the same way about that, about gender, about even social backgrounds, Scousers, why aren't we down there? And the minute you meet one, it's like meeting somebody on holiday. You're made up, aren't you? Somebody's got your accent. You sit on a board and somebody says, I'm from the north, I'm from Watford, and you go, yay, that'll do, it's close enough. So,
it's an identity.
It is, and we have to really kind of try and galvanise that positivity, but we have to galvanise it in all genders. And it's about making sure that people recognise talent in others, and talent, hard work will out. So come on, Northern Power women.
Thank you so much, Kellie, for sharing your insight, your wisdom, you're just, and I don't even know how you spell that on today's episode. And a massive congratulations. So delighted for you to join the Northern Power Women Power List 2022 this year as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so proud of it. Thank you.
You're amazing. And thanks for tuning in today. Please do tell your pals about our podcast. Please encourage actively, as Kellie says. Reach out to us on socials at North Power Women on Twitter and Northern Power Women on all our other social media channels. Drop us a line, oldschoolpodcast@northernpowerwomen.com, and join us next week on Monday, the 7th of March, for the debut season of the We Celebrate season, when I'll be joined by another incredible role model from across the Northern Power Women community. I'm Simone Roche, and you've been listening to the Northern Power Women podcast, a What Goes On Media production.